Hey guys, Kevin here for Teen Wolf Season 5, Episode 8, Ouroboros, how you pronounce it. I don't know how to pronounce the title of this episode, whatever. This was another great episode. Obviously, I was looking forward to it. I mean, that amazing cliffhanger last week, I really didn't know what we were going into, and again, this was another great episode. It was definitely more of setting up the last two episodes of of this half of the season, which are going to be insane. I can't wait. Let's just get into this episode, and there's a lot to talk about, and a lot went down, so let's get into it. So we start off where we see this chemical or nuclear plant, and a truck arrives with a number of gun-welding men that have masks similar to the Dread Doctors, so you have to think that they're probably working for the Dread Doctors, or something like that. And it turns out that it's actually Deacon, and another man who tells him that they are not in a nuclear plant, and the man says there's a superstition attached to the place, and there are writings that say they come for all of us. And we haven't seen a lot of Deaton this season, but I like seeing him again. Deaton asks the man to tell him the story, and he says that some people say they never took off the mask because they have no faces, and the man speaks of a symbol of a snake eating itself, the Ouroboros, and they see the logo of a door, and when they open it, they find the failed experiments in the form of fetuses, and they find a skeleton, and Deacon finds a tooth and says they should leave, and just then, the desert wolf walks in, of course, Malia's mother. We finally meet, the desert wolf in this episode, which I thought was awesome, and she says, "Easy, doctor," and I'm not sure if we can trust her or not. Honestly, I'm not sure, because she seems kind of menacing, but she definitely seems like she's on a mission to find her daughter, because obviously we know that Brayden went to find the Desert Wolf, so I was hoping that we'd see Brayden or Derek tonight, but we don't, and I definitely feel that's coming, but not yet. I don't think we're going to see him till the second half of the season, but we'll have to see, because they did say that we're going to see him this season. So Scott's running through the woods in search of his beta, of course, Liam, and Malia is close behind as they try to find both Liam and Hayden, and Malia asks if Liam can hold back, and Scott says only if he hurt him, and basically Melissa, meanwhile, is with Stilenski, and I love the scenes between Melissa and Stilenski, honestly, I really love it. She calls Stilinski and asks him to leave the badge at the door because the dead woman lying on the table with Kira's sword sticking out of her, and he immediately begins asking about Kira, and he actually calls the death in, and Melissa's just pissed off at him because she doesn't want to think that Kira did this sort of thing, and she gets into it with Stilinski for calling it in. He tells her that no one is above the law, and I understand what he's trying to say. Like, anyone really can commit a crime. I do agree with that. But again, I mean, Melissa does have a point that they need to do some further investigation, and they can't just assume things, even though Kira was the one that did it. It's not necessarily her. It's she. I'm pretty sure she's under the Dread Doctor's control at this point. However, this episode I'm not sure, though, because she's wandering down a busy road, and then she's picked up by none other than Clark, Hayden's sister, Clark, and basically Clark asks her if she's okay, and Kira seems startled and says something bad happened here, and she tells Clark that she thinks she came out to remember something. However, Clark still coaxes her into getting into the cruiser and arrests her. So you can definitely tell that Clark is onto her, and we see a lot more of Clark in this episode, and she also radios in and says she has a suspect in custody. And basically, Scott and Theo hear the call on the radio, and Stiles recognize the code as a homicide, with Kira being the suspect. So they know that something's going on with Kira here. So Liam is basically forced to watch the Dread Doctors. Really sad scene, because we know that the Dread Doctors took him and Hayden, and as we saw last week, they were drilling into Hayden, and they're still doing that in this episode. There's nothing he can do. He's trying to stop them. They continue to inject him with some type of liquid. When they check Hayden, the Dread Doctor says her condition worsens, and Liam's trying to get them to stop it. They just kick him right in the face. I mean, they obviously don't want him into this. They know what they're doing, and they just want him to stay out of this. So that's pretty much what they're doing. So Parrish is taking a shower, and he's in a trance until his phone rings, and the other deputy informs him that there has been another murderer, and basically, that I thought was really interesting. So when Kira's arrested, and of course he knows that more murder means more bodies. That's what he's thinking right now. So when Kira's arrested, the sheriff asks Stilinski asks his deputy to take the cuffs off of Kira, and her parents walk in, and basically her dad admits to killing the woman in self-defense. And we know, of course, that it wasn't her parents, but this really shows how much her parents care about her, because they're willing to go to jail just to protect their daughter. And I've always really liked that. The Yukamars are always really great parents, I have to say. And Stilenski asks if this is the story they want to go with, because he can tell that they're lying. He can tell that they're trying to protect their daughter, and they just ask him if if there is a better one. And I thought that was interesting. So Hayden's back laying next to Liam, and he tries Scott's method of healing her from the pain, but it's just not working. And it's probably because he's a beta and Scott's an alpha, so his powers, aren't as advanced as Scott's are. So Hayden asks why this is happening to them, and Liam has no idea. They hold hands and hope they're going to be saved. And did anyone else get a Scott Allison vibe from them? Honestly, I did. Might probably is why I like Liam and Hayden so much, because they very much remind me of Scott and Allison in season 1. Obviously, Allison was a human and Hayden's a chimera, but, So Scott's questioning Kira as to what happened, and she says she has no idea. Scott doesn't want to leave her, but Kira understands he has to save Liam, and that's basically his main agenda right now. She can tell it's on his mind. But before he leaves, Kira asks if he thinks she killed the woman, and he looks doubtful and says no. I kind of feel like Kira doesn't remember doing it or not. Maybe she doesn't know that she did it. I honestly don't know. I mean, to me, it seems like she's kind of spacing out and not really knowing if she actually killed these people or not, which I think is definitely very interesting. So Scott walks in on Corey and Mason, and he walks right up to Corey, digs his nails into the back of his neck, and that was really interesting. So Hayden's trying to free Liam from the huge needle in his veins, and he tells her it's okay, they will both heal, but the Dread Doctors get to them and inject both of them with strange substances, and I was pretty sure that they were going to be, turning evil and turning into weapons in this episode. That's not what happens, though. Which I found, what happens with them in this episode, I found very interesting. So, basically, Stilenski and Melissa are not seeing eye to eye at all. I mean, they're not agreeing on this. Stilenski thinks that Kira did do this, while Melissa's saying there's more to it, and that he needs to be more mindful of that. And I like the back and forth between them. Honestly, I really do like this conflict. For two characters who usually get, just comedic stuff and not a lot of actual storylines and are mostly background, I like that they're actually including them this season. Very much how I like Pretty Little Liars is doing that. Two shows that include the parents' background, but this season they're doing a lot more with them, and I really like that, because there's a lot more at stake, definitely. So just then, Clark comes in and informs Stilenski that the 911 prank calls were from Stiles and Theo, and he says no more bending the rules for anyone. But Melissa warns him to bend a little before someone breaks. And I understand what she's trying to say, because if he goes any further, who knows what could happen. He can get himself in so much more danger, and he needs to maybe not do as much work as he's doing. So everyone's surrounding Scott and Corey in the room, and he's actually seeing visions of the Dread Doctors taking Corey and experiment on him. And Scott collapses a bit and is very upset. He's not like the calm Scott. We definitely see how the Dread Doctors are sort of breaking him, and I think it's just because Scott's realizing that he's probably not going to be able to defeat these guys as easy as he thinks he is. I mean, they're a lot smarter than that. They're a lot more powerful than he is, and he's probably not going to be able to defeat them. He does manage to get a clear description, though, for Lydia, who draws the holding area, and they now know where to locate Liam and Hayden. So they basically go out and know where to find them, and the rest of the episode is pretty much a rescue mission. So Liam and Hayden wake up once again, and this time they have a +1. His name is Zach. We meet another chimera. He's also an experiment, and he seems a bit delirious. You can tell that he's kind of dazed, and I was thinking that maybe he's just maybe the Dread Doctors have done this to him, and I'm just like, this guy is not to be trusted, there's no way. And he says maybe they can help remove something from his back. They look at his back, and it looks like wings might have been severed. I mean, now we know there are winged chimeras too. It seems like chimeras are kind of like its own creature, and there are definitely more of them, and I don't know, I'd love to find out more about chimeras, but I probably have to do very, very deep research, and I don't want to do that. So I found that also very interesting. So Stiles tells Scott that he needs to talk to Stilenski before he goes after Liam with Scott because he knows that Stilenski's on to him, and Scott decides to go with Malia instead. And the rest of the group notice that Scott isn't quite himself. Definitely, he's not acting like himself, and it's just not working. And the body's being moved to the hospital, and it's under heavy guard by the sheriff's department. Now, the problem with that is that Parrish is right outside, and the question is, will he be able to control himself? So, Liam and Hayden get to know Zach in the cell, basically, and they're talking with him, getting to know him a little bit more. And as they, he tells them what the steps are to failed experiments. And Zach says that one had a cut similar to Hayden. He says not to worry, only it's bad when it turns silver. And he's questioning what they're turning into, and Hayden says something worse. So she knows that they're turning into something bad, and it's not going to be good. So Scott and Malia have another tag-along, and of course, it's Mason, and they search the underground tunnels, but there are too many chemicals to catch a scent, and Stiles is on the phone trying to figure out how the explosion happens when Stilenski interrupts him and tells him to go home, and they talk about the key cards and the library, and Stilenski realizes that Stiles might be guilty after he admits to losing his, and I honestly thought that Stiles was going to tell him in that moment that he killed Donovan. As I said, Stiles to the point where he needs to tell somebody, and you can just tell again in this episode, Stiles wants to tell someone. He's very isolated in this episode. Like, Stiles doesn't have a lot because he's very isolated. He's kind of in this awkward position right now where he doesn't know what to do. And Kira's frustrated. She throws the book, and her mother tells her that the story in the book is confusing the fox within her, and she instructs Kira trying to read the story backwards, and definitely you can tell that the fox within her, I mean, that's basically what's going on there, is that the fox within her is getting to her, and it's definitely her anger, and she needs to read it backwards to maybe control herself a bit more. So Zach can tell that the Dread Doctors are coming, and he begins bleeding silver, which of course he told them is not a good sign, and he's dragged away by the Dread Doctors as Liam and Hayden watch helplessly. It's a very disturbing scene, but very well done. Props for Teen Wolf for going as graphic as it does this season. Really, I've been loving it personally. So Scott and Malia are calling out for Liam and Hayden, but they can't seem to find them. And just then Scott hears a strange frequency and tells Malia and Mason to follow him. And Lydia and Theo are trying to keep Corey put because they know that Corey is kind of, can't control himself. And Theo is to lie to him to try to keep him there. And you can tell that, Theo is lying, and Theo asks him to tell them what he saw when Scott was in his brain, and he recounts what Scott saw, and Theo's insistent that there must be more, and Corey remembers that there was a basement in the house with a broken stone wall. Now, with this interaction between Theo and Corey, I'm worried that Theo only asked Corey this information because he's going to then give this information to the Dread Doctors to tell them that, hey, Scott's coming after you. That's kind of what I think why Theo asked Corey this information, because obviously Theo in reality wants nothing to do with Corey. He's working for the Dread Doctors full-time. That's who he cares about, and that's who he's going to work for. And that's why I think that he asked Corey these questions, because, I mean, that had to be a big thing of why the hell would he ask Corey this, and that's why I think he did that. So Kira's reading the book backwards, and it's finally starting to make sense to her, and she's having a vision of being back in the traffic jam again, but this time the Drag Doctors grab her and put a device in her eye, and there's a flash of lightning, and she snaps out of it with a scared look on her face. Now, if you remember, we saw that in the season premiere. We saw something like that, so this definitely shows us that Kira knows that the Dread Doctors are coming after her, and basically somehow Theo finds Liam and Hayden after Corey's directions, and when he grabs the fence holding them in, he is shocked. And here's my question. If Theo was working with the Dread Doctors, why would he be shocked by the electric fence? Why wouldn't they have let him in? Because obviously he's working for them. Maybe it's because they don't want people to know he's working for them. I don't know, but that I thought was kind of interesting. So, Stilenski and his team are preparing themselves for a battle in case someone decides to come for the body, and the temperature is rising, and it's so hot that the sprinkler system turns to steam, and someone's taking the deputies out, and neither Parrish or Deputy Clark is nearby, and Scott suffers from another asthma attack while in the tunnels, and Malia tells him he needs to use the inhaler. You can tell again that the Dread Doctors are playing with, his mind and things like that. for someone, and it's really interesting how all of a sudden he's just having these asthma attacks. I think that definitely is very interesting, and again, I think it has to do with the Dread Doctors, what they're doing to him. So he said it's all their fault, and they're never gonna find them. And Malia holds his hand out, helps Scott up, and urges him to. I mean, Mason holds his hand out, helps Scott up, and urges him to keep looking. And again, you can see that Scott's very weak right now. He doesn't know if he's gonna be able to take them down, and Liam then asks Theo if he's okay. He says he's fine. Theo makes breaking the doors look a little too easy, and Parrish tells the sheriff that he thinks he saw the perpetrator, and just then Stiles runs in, shows Stilenski the body that's missing, and I'm like, oh shit, that's not going to be good. So Liam is in the back of the car with Hayden, and them in this car with Theo, not a good idea, because Theo is definitely going to try to convince them to work for the Dread Doctors. I just know it. I know that Theo is going to try to do what he did with Stiles with Liam and Hayden. I just see that happening. But this scene I really did love, because Hayden's not healing, and Liam realizes that in order for that to happen, he has to kiss her, and I don't care how cheesy this is, I really was happy about this, because you guys know I ship them. I don't know why I ship Hayden and Liam. I'm not the type of person that ships couples on TV. As I said, I like what the show wants me to like, but I don't know, something about Liam and Hayden, I really like them together. I think they're really cute together, and I've always wanted them to be a couple. So him kissing her, I thought was really great, and he does it again and asks how, and she asks how he did it, and of course, this is still all new to her. She still doesn't fully understand what's going on. So Theo's driving them home, has a menacing look in the rearview mirror. You know that he has something up his sleeve, and I love that scene because you can tell that definitely Theo's going to do something to them. You don't know what it's going to be, but I don't see his agenda. It's not going to be a good agenda. He definitely has an agenda, and you'll see that. So Scott and Malia arrive, and Theo gets a warm reception from everyone as the entire pack keeps watch over Liam and Hayden. And Scott seems to be a little skeptical about it all, and he heads over to, he doesn't really know if this is all going to work, and you can tell that I'm pretty sure Theo's going to screw everyone over. I mean, he brought Liam and Hayden there, but yet they're all there, and he's there too, and he's going to end up screwing them all over. So he heads over to talk to Kira, and the last scene between them last week felt like the final scene between them. This, I think, was Kira's final scene on the show altogether. It seemed that way. So he heads over to talk to Kira. She's leaving. She says she doesn't want to hurt anyone, and he says she won't. She asks him to tell her what he sees with his real eyes, and the kitsune is burning bright, and Scott and Kira share one last kiss in the rain, and that I think they just did that because they're not going to see each other anymore before she and her parents leave town. And my only thing that I hate about this is, I don't talk about this a lot, but I can't stand the fucking hashtags on MTV. I can't stand that, because when Kira was leaving, it's supposed to be a really emotional moment, and then they did hashtag peace out Kira. It baffles me how immature the hashtags are on this show. I'm sorry, guys. I'm one to talk. I use Twitter. I use hashtags, okay? But that's just like, you're bringing down the mood here. Like, do you want me to be sad, or do you want me to laugh at this? Like, what are you trying to do here, Teen Wolf? I don't understand this. But that was interesting. So, basically, once again, you see that Scott has to go with someone he loves, and it always seems like Scott in this position where he has to leave people. He always has to abandon people that he loves. I mean, first was Allison, Isaac. I mean, think of all the people that have left the show because they were just too much of a threat. And do I think this is Kira's last appearance on the show altogether? No, but I do think we're not going to see her for a while. We know that definitely something... Well, actually, Kira does leave town in the season premiere. So, honestly, yeah, I do think we're not going to see... I don't think we're going to see Kira anymore. I think that was Kira's last appearance on the show because we know that something causes Kira to leave town, and that's what caused her to leave town. And I'm very happy that we're finally getting clues to that, because you knew that they had to fill in the blank somewhere. That's why I love the season premiere so much. I know a lot of people weren't a fan of it, but I loved it still. So Melissa visits Scott, who tells her something, and we get that great scene that we've heard so many times in promo. He says something has changed, but between him and his friends, but he's not sure. He says something's different, and he thinks it's because of him, and he says he doesn't know how to fix it, and you pretty much see that he's kind of in this position where he's kind of given up. He doesn't know what to do, and it's understandable. I mean, they're so powerful. How the hell is he going to defeat them? I think that's kind of what he's thinking right now, and I think that's really interesting. So Stiles reveals that he knows who's taking the bodies, and gives Lydia Parrish's badge, and Lydia now knows that Parrish took the bodies, and you can just see the look on Lydia's face. You know, she's kind of upset, but at the same time, I kind of feel like she's like, okay, I understand. You know, Parrish knows who he is, and she knows where, and she tells him that she knows where he's taking them, and I thought that was awesome. And then we see that the Desert Wolf is holding Deaton captive, and he's lying about Malia being alive to her, and I'm like, why are you doing that? Like, that's gonna get Deaton killed. Like, if he keeps lying to her about this, this is gonna get Deaton killed. I understand that he doesn't really know if he can trust her or not, but I mean, her main thing is probably to be reunited with her daughter, and you know, he's talking about how he wants to save her because her own mother basically wants to kill her, and that's basically how the episode ends. So, one incredible episode, so much to get into. Let's first talk about Liam and Hayden, because, I mean, I don't know if they're together right now, but definitely they're about to get screwed over by Theo, honestly. Theo's going to get them to work for the Dread Doctors. I know he will. I know he's going to try to get them to turn against the Pack. I can definitely see that happening. And it's going to be interesting because, you know, he's done with Stiles. He almost did it with Kira. Kira had to leave, but you can tell that the Dread Doctors were doing that, and I think it definitely is very interesting. And he's going to do the same thing with Corey. I really don't see Corey ending up in a good place. Corey, Theo, and Zach, I really see them teaming up at some point. So, and again, we know Liam and Scott, something caused them to fight, and I think Theo is going to be that thing that causes them to fight. So I really do see that happening. Scott, again, he's kind of lost right now, and I think, honestly, someone else is going to have to step up. Maybe Malia, Lydia, honestly, someone's going to have to take over and do this, and maybe it'll be Stiles. Someone's going to have to take Scott's place and take down the Dread Doctors, because Scott's just not really in the best position to do it right now. He's kind of lost, and you can see that. So, Lydia now knowing that Parrish took the bodies, what is she going to do with this? Is she going to tell everyone? Is she going to keep this to herself? I kind of feel like she's going to make this, I mean, Stiles knows he's probably going to tell Stilenski, but what is this going to do to Parrish? Is Stilenski going to be, you know, he's probably going to get cut. I don't know what Stilenski's going to do here. He's probably going to be pissed at Parrish because he just caused him all of that for nothing. But that's going to be very interesting. Now, Deaton and the Desert Wolf. This I find very interesting because obviously she wants to kill Malia, but the more he lies about her being alive, I think he's going to end up getting himself killed. So we'll have to see what happens there. And again, we know that something caused the Desert Wolf and Malia to team up. So something's going to happen there, and I don't see things going well for Deaton. The reason I say that is because the actor that plays Deaton, if you guys know, is currently in jail. He's in jail or DUI or something. He's not in a very good terms with the law. I believe he's either in jail or DUI, but I don't think he's going to be on the show for that much longer. I honestly think they're going to kill off Deaton this season. I really see them doing that. I mean, why would he be in this storyline? I mean, Deaton doesn't usually have a lot to do, and when minor characters have a lot to do on shows like this, not usually good things. So I really do see Deaton getting killed, probably. I definitely see it happening. Stilenski, I think, needs to, at this point, not be as high-strung. I do think he needs to listen to Melissa and think things over a bit more, definitely. Zach, I don't know if Zach's gone, I'm pretty sure. I think Zach's gone for the most part now. Do you guys think this was Kira's last appearance? I think it was, definitely. I do think this was Kira's last appearance, but do you think there's a possibility she could come back on the show? I don't really know. I think at this point, we're at the point where Scott can't even handle a love interest at this point, because he just got so much on his mind that having a love interest is like the least of his worries right now. So I really don't see a place for Kira in the show at this point. I mean, I really like Kira as a character, but, you know, if she's too threatening, then maybe you gotta let her go. And I like that he let her go like that. Something I think was definitely very interesting. And again, Stiles he's at the point where he needs to tell Scott the truth. I mean, Scott is losing his mind. He's losing confidence, and Stiles needs to get him some of that by telling him what he did. But that's basically my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys saw this episode. I absolutely love this episode, as usual. Great season. We have 2 episodes left for this half of the season. I can't believe it, but I will see you guys in my next video, which will be for another classic movie review, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.